I want to welcome you back to Growth Group and thank you so much for being here. My desire and my prayer is that as we gather together, we learn together, we learn about one another, we learn about God, and our lives are better. It's the discipleship process, and Growth Group is essential to that. So thank you for being with us. I'm challenging all of us to awaken what I call a generous heart, and comes from the resource I Like Giving that inspired me to do these lessons. And what I pray is that you would get the book and you would let it inspire you as well, because it is challenging. And it really walks through some of the challenges about what it takes to awaken a generous heart. And some of it is just boils down to this simple word: try. See, I'm convinced that most of us don't experience the true and real joy of giving nearly as much as we could. There are just opportunities all around us. There are things that are in our everyday life that if we ever became truly aware of and we acted on that, that things would be better, different in our lives. And really it boils down to this word: is just try. Try. You're going to have to lean in, and it's going to get a little awkward at times. It may be a little funky. It may be not what you expect. There's so much about awakening a generous heart. There's so much ideas and so much different scenarios and so much different feelings that can be part of this idea of giving, of being generous. There was a guy that was having lunch with some friends, and he got done with lunch and he was getting back into his car and just thinking he's going to carry on with his day. He was going back to work, and as he got in his car, he could look over to the car next to him, and he saw this guy, and he was obviously on the phone, and he was really in a very emotional state. Not trying to be too nosy, he just kind of rolls down the window and he begins to eavesdrop on the conversation. The guy is going through a really difficult time. His wife has been sick, and he's listening to this conversation on the phone, and his wife needs some medication. And he's explaining, I don't have the money to go get that medication. I don't have the funds to go buy you what you need. And he can tell the guy's very distraught, just having a bad day and just overwhelmed by all the things that life is throwing at him. The guy hangs up the phone, and so the guy that is eavesdropping rolls down his window even more and says, hey guy, I just couldn't help but overhear your conversation. He said, man, are you okay? Are you okay? The guy just looked at him and said, he says, I'm out of a job, and I'm here. I got an interview here just in a few moments. I'm going to go on the interview, and my wife's sick, and she needs medication, and I don't have the money for the medication. It's just a tough time. The guy says, man, I get it. I understand. And he says, man, I got to go. And so the guy that has the interview jumps out of the car and just heads to the interview. The guy that eavesdropped on the conversation felt something trigger in his heart. You need to help that guy out. You don't know him. You don't know about the situation, but he felt something. There's an ATM that's close, and he drives to the ATM, and he pulls out some money, and he comes back, and he writes a note, and the note is saying, hey, this money is for you to purchase that medication for your wife. By providential help, I guess. The guy, his window was cracked just enough for him to drop that note in and to drop in the money. And he said, when I saw the note and the $20, a couple $20 begin to float down into the sea, he said, that feeling that I was helping this man that was obviously very distraught, in a very tight place, he said, I will never forget that feeling. He said, I don't know what happened. I don't know the guy's name, was never able to follow up. He said, but I know that day, that moment, I did what I felt was the right thing to do. All I did was just try. Let me give you a suggestion. When's the last time you asked for an opportunity to come your way? I'm challenging you to ask for an opportunity. And then when you ask for that opportunity, to wait for it. And when the opportunity comes, you seize it. Now, I wanted to be honest with you. The opportunity might be scary. You might hesitate. You might wonder, is it really a good idea? Should I really do this? Am I just kind of, just leaning into this and maybe I shouldn't? We talk ourselves out of so many things. We convince ourselves that let wisdom prevail, or, they may take advantage, or this is maybe not as big a deal as I think it is. We really, really work overtime trying to convince ourselves that not engaging and not helping and not activating a generous heart is probably the wise and right thing to do. But my suggestion is go with that nudge. That little prompting, that little nudge that you can't deny. You know it's there, and go with it. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be a big project. No one has to know. It's just you honoring something that's true, something that's awakening, something that's coming alive, something that's sparking inside of you that says you need to engage. Now, to be honest, giving opportunities are going to catch you off guard sometimes. You're not going to be prepared for that. I remember the day that I was writing this lesson. I was at a general conference and I was writing this lesson. I took a break. I was in some meetings as well. And when I could, I'd go back and write this lesson. And so this is washing over me, this lesson about trying. So me and another individual that was in that meeting, we walked to Starbucks, was just about a block away. And we're bringing our Starbucks back. And while we're coming back, we're talking, we're having a good conversation. This man stops us. He's in a uniform. He's got like a business phone. He's got some other gadgets, and you could just tell this guy was just a guy, a good job. He was working downtown, and he said, "Man, I need some money, and man, I hate to, stop you. I just don't know what to do." And it's the scenario you think you heard before. Again, he's well dressed. It's not like he's not kept. He's not like a bum or anything. And my friend is talking to them. I'm standing off and watching this unfold. And man, as I'm standing there watching this unfold, this lesson is washing over. Try. You don't know him. You don't know if it's true. You don't know if it's real. You don't know if he's lying. But I want you to try. My friend reaches into his wallet, and I don't know, maybe he didn't have a dime on him, okay? He just had credit cards, and he looked and he said, "Man, I would give it to you, guy, but I don't have it." I'm standing there thinking, Zuniga, you need to give. So I reach in, and again, probably my instinct was to give just, a couple dollars, let's help the guy out. Let's go on with our conversation. Maybe 5, and if I was like really overly generous, I would give him 10, okay? His need was about $38. All I had was 20s on me, and I felt you need to just give. So I gave. I gave, and when I turned around and walked, again, is this the right thing? Is he going to take advantage? Is he telling us the real story? I mean, all that we all go through. But again, that feeling washed over. I'm trying to train my heart to give. What I want you to use, and these are great words, and I'd love for you to say it in the growth group. Let's say it out loud together. I would like for you to say this. So what? Can we say that together? So what? Come on, one more time. Say it with a little bit more conviction. So what? If attempting to be generous puts you in a really awkward position, maybe a little uncomfortable, you don't know how all the details, you don't know if all the things are true, I just would like for you to get to the point where you say, so what? Doesn't matter. I'm trying to train my heart to be a generous person. I'm inviting you to say this prayer, and I'm going to say this prayer. You can jot it down, and I'd just like for you to say this prayer. And it's simply this. I want to experience the joy that comes with giving. I ask that today an opportunity to give will come my way, that I will recognize it when it does, and that I will have the courage to jump in and give. I would like for you to say that prayer. I think that prayer is a good prayer, because I think it goes along with the verse that I'm trying to get you to obey and understand and listen to. It's Acts 20:35. It's where Paul is writing, I have been a constant example of how you can help those in need by working hard. You should remember the words of the Lord Jesus. It is more blessed to give than to receive. Let that ring true. It is more blessed to give than to receive. And when you're training and when you're trying and when you're saying, okay, I'm going to risk, I'm going to step out there, I'm going to become vulnerable, I'm going to be aware of needs, I'm going to let God use me. I want you to be very, very, very careful of these 4-letter words. Okay, here they are. These 4-letter words are debt, fear, and busy. Those have stolen joy from being generous many, many, many times. Debt, fear, and busy. But if an opportunity comes your way and those questions or those words come flooding in, I want you to understand you're training and trying to train your heart to be generous. But what happens if you fail the test? You chicken out, okay? You're like, okay, I know I should have. That was an opportunity I missed. And, sometimes it's a timing thing. If you miss the opportunity, if you wimp out, if you chicken out, please don't beat yourself up. Just lean in again. Next opportunity, keep trying. You will find out as you cultivate a lifestyle of giving, what you get back is far greater than anything that you give. So the challenge in this lesson is I want you to try. Now here's where your personality and your gift set and the way God works through you begins to shine. Because if you're wondering what a giving opportunity looks like, you just have to use your imagination. If you're wondering what a giving opportunity looks like, you just have to use your imagination. Something's going to happen, some opportunity, something's going to come across your radar screen, and this is where you and God and your personality and your gift set come together and say, in a unique way, how can I meet that need? How can I give? Listen to the nudge. It's going to happen this week. I want you to watch this video, and you're going to watch a family as they listen to a nudge. And what it did for them is something they never expected. Welcome to the journey. Listen. God bless.
So my husband is reading the Sunday paper and he comes across an article that talks about this refugee family that had gotten their bikes stolen and that their bikes were their transportation. And he says, come over here, you need to read this. The kids got up and it was craziness, and Brad sat everybody down and he talked about what a refugee family was, and then he asked the question, well, what can we do about this? My 9-year-old pipes in and says, I think we need to go get them bikes. And Brad said, you're right, that's what we should do. We should go get them bikes. And I thought, oh my gosh. I'm thinking we're gonna show up with bikes and they probably have at least 5 or 6 bikes by now. And my kids are gonna be so disappointed, and we're going to spend our Sunday dealing with this rather than having our family day like we were going to have. But we get in the car, we're all excited. We head to the store to pick out the bikes, which was fun. The boys wanted to find a certain color, and we knew that they had one son, and so the boys wanted to pick out the bike for the boy. We pile the bikes in the car. As we drive down the road, we realize we really don't know where we're going. My husband called the church that was affiliated with this family. They said that they couldn't give out the address. He is persistent with the person on the phone and said, it looks as though this is in this part of town, is that right? And the voice on the other end said, you're right, it's in that part of town. I kept thinking they probably already have bikes by the time this article has been written and printed. I'm sure somebody has already made sure that this family has bikes. And so there is a line of these duplex homes, and we had to figure out which home was theirs. The picture in the paper had a hose reel on the front, And so we looked for that hose reel, and sure enough, one of the kids said, "There it is, there's the hose reel." And there's no one home. So we decide to wait, and a half an hour goes by, 2 hours, 3 hours, and by that time, I'm ready to leave. We've waited long enough. My husband said, "Let's make one more pass through the neighborhood, and then we can go home." Then the excitement starts. They're home. The little boy was, telling his dad, "These bikes are for us." And the only thing that the dad could say was, "I like bike, I like bike." And he had the biggest smile on his face, and he's like, "I like bike." I said to the boy, "Have you gotten a bike yet?" And he said, "No, ma'am." I think that was kind of a turning point for me. Like, even though it wasn't convenient, even though it was a long day, even though I thought that the need had already been met, experiencing that joy when we drove away and how my kids were saying, "That was so cool, that was so cool, did you see their faces?" That was what was so meaningful to me. I think so often the need is so close that you miss it.